Alright, so in Adobe Photoshop, go ahead and download the project file first below here, below this video, and that is grid.psd. And so what we want to do is open that up, and if you've never really worked with a grid-based templating system, it's really easy. If we turn on this layer group right over here, we have 12 column grid, and basically these grids allow us to structure the layout and then use HTML and CSS to basically set it up properly. So it's just it'll serve as a general guide. So I will be basically revealing this and hiding this throughout the design process. So what we want to do now is just set up real quickly a top portion that will go above the fold, which is kind of important to have because obviously if we're doing something that requires scrolling, we need to have something to basically to scroll past. So just really quickly filling out the top portion above the fold will help us get to that point. So what I want to do is first start off with a header in a navigation portion. And we're not going to actually have a navigation. We're just going to take a logo real quick, and we're not going to spend any time on it really, and just center the logo. It's not really worth all the steps that it requires to create a responsive navigation. All right, so we'll take out here the rectangle tool, and for a color, we don't have to really worry about this just now. I want to get the shape on there first. I'm going to left click and drag, and if this happens to you, just hold the Alt key. All right, so we'll span out the entire width, roughly around this size, okay? So I'm gonna hide this real quick. That automatically pops up in Photoshop CC. And I'm just gonna call this header. All right, and for the color, if you see the outline, you can hit Control H or Command H, by the way, twice to get rid of those. And the colors, basically, I'm gonna stick with this. So basically, the color hex code is 2C2F36. All right, so now for the actual logo, this is again for a fictional company, so we really don't have to worry about, going all out on logo design or anything like that. So we're going to take out the grid and we're going to take the type tool, and I'm using a font called Source Sans Pro, which is free, and that will be linked here as well if you want to use that. You don't have to though. All right, so starting right here at this first column, we want to left click and drag out all the way to this last column. And then we want to center it. All right, so now what I'm going to do is type in the fictional name, Pure Cloud Host. You can't see it because it's the same color as this. And then we'll just select the Move tool. We can go back to the Type tool, hide the grid, and then make it white for the color. All right, pretty simple. Now, because I'm working on a resolution of 1280 by 720, I can't get to 100% and zoom up all the way and see everything. So I'll be sticking at around 66.7%. But for now, I'm going to zoom up here. And just to create some differentiation between the type, I'm going to select bold for pure. All right, and then just use my down arrow key to justify that in the center. All right, so I'm going to zoom out here, and now what I want to do is create the second block portion. And we don't have to be too specific on the height, but we just want to get it, you can just eyeball it so you're in the rough area. And I'm going to click just above the background. So we don't have to worry about the color just yet. I'm going to left click and hold Alt and drag out to an area right around this size. So the height is 490. You can adjust that if you want to be specific. All right, so now what I want to do is going to hit Control H twice, double click on this, and we're going to make this a light gray color. So roughly right around E2, 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 and then hit OK. All right. So now then we have two areas that we need to design over here and then over here for some content. So basically, usually when it comes to an effective landing page of sorts, you'll have some type of captivating graphic and then maybe a headline and a call to action over here. So we'll stick with that. So what we want to do, first I'll just rename this to Above the Fold BG, all right, as a background. And now what we want to do is take the left click, drag out, and select the ellipse tool right here. Just above the fold background, we want to basically take this, hold shift, and create an ellipse that's roughly right around this size. All right, and what we want to do is take the direct selection tool right here, and we want to get rid of the fill. So click on that, and we will create an empty, and then take the stroke, and we will make it the same color as this header background. So if you click here, choose that color, hit OK, we still don't see anything because the stroke is at 0 points. So if we just increase this, we'll begin to see the actual stroke. And right around there looks pretty good. We'll make it an even 8 points. And then we can hit Control T. And if you need to make more adjustments, I think I'm going to make this just a little bit larger by holding Shift and position it right around here. And the actual grids don't really matter too much for this portion. All right, so what I'm going to do now is create an actual server icon, because this is a fictional cloud server. And by the way, if you hold Alt in your mouse scroll wheel, you can zoom up and in real easily. All right, so what I'm going to do is take the rounded rectangle tool, and I'm going to use a border radius of around 7 for this, 7 pixels. And what I want to do is just left click and drag out and hold Alt, I'd say right around here. And what I want to do is take the direct selection tool. We will give this a temporary fill, and then we're going to get rid of the stroke. All right, and then we can get this centered here real quickly. And what I want to do is double click over here on the right side of the layer and go to Gradient Overlay. And we'll take the gradient editor right here and we'll adjust these. So the top color we want to basically be a light gray. And then the bottom color just a little bit darker than that. Let's say right around there. All right, hit OK and OK. Now what we want to do is go ahead and zoom up here, and we're going to take the ellipse tool, and you hit Control H twice, get rid of that view, and just hold Shift and create a small ellipse right there, and then we'll make the color white. All right, now what we want to do is duplicate this. So you can right click and hit duplicate layer. I have set up a hotkey or a keyboard shortcut for that. So if you want to set that up real quick, you just go to Edit Keyboard Shortcuts and you go to Panel Menus and you find Layers right here. And then you also find Duplicate Layer right here. I've set this to Shift, Control, and D. So Control Shift D is what I use for that. And I'll move this over by holding Shift to make sure it stays on the horizontal path. And then I will move for a third time another one right around here. Take those 3 layers and hit Control E to merge those on the same path. And we'll put it maybe right around there, and that'll be pretty good. All right, so now if we hit Control 1, we'll go back to 100%. I'm going to go out a little bit more. All right, so now what we want to do is take those 2 layers, and we want to duplicate those. So Control Shift D. I'm going to move it down. I'm going to zoom up here, and then move it down again. Control Shift D rather, and then move it down again. And now that we have all of those layers, take the top layer and then hold Shift and select those 6 layers and hit Control G to create a group. We'll call this server, or servers plural rather. All right, and then we'll hit Control 1, double click on the right side of the layer to get the layer styles, and we'll choose stroke. All right, and we will make that stroke white. And that looks pretty good to me right here, so we'll hit OK. All right, and then finally we will use a custom brush, and we'll create some real quick clouds. So I have a bunch of custom brushes from previous projects. I'm going to link some free brushes that you can download that are clouds, and you can use your own. So I'm going to check this one out right here. And again, there's so many different cloud brushes, you don't necessarily have to use the exact same one that I'm using. And what I want to do is our ellipse right here, we want to go just above that, hit Control Shift N for a new layer, hit OK. And you can see this is very large. I'm going to make the foreground color white, and I'm going to take the scale, the size of this down quite a bit, maybe to around 419, and then just click once. All right, so that creates that effect. It looks pretty good. If you back up and hit Control Z, if you want it to stand out a little bit more, you can just click it twice. All right, and I'm going to try another one. I'm going to call this layer, by double clicking it, Cloud 1. I'm going to create a new layer because I want a couple clouds, and we'll call this Cloud 2. And I'm going to try to experiment with choosing another cloud. It's a little bit small. All right. And I'm going to click right around here. And I'm going to take the eraser and get rid of this top one there. And move it up just a tad bit. And we can, you know, basically position these how you want them. I might put this here. Take Cloud 2. Maybe right around here. All right, so basically they look like clouds. All right, so then finally I'm going to zoom out here to around 68% just so I can see everything. And then we're going to get out our grid. All right, and we're going to use basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 grids. So this will span 6 grids as well, and or columns rather. And what we want to do is take the type tool, and we'll left click right here at this, beginning with the 7th grid, and drag out to the 6th, and we'll type in free SSD cloud hosting. All right, and then we will left align that. We will make this a light for Source Sans Pro, and then we're going to increase the font size. I'm going to try around 40 just for now, and then make it kind of slightly darker than at top. So it's 11262E for the color hex code. Let me get rid of the grid. Let's bring this down here, and I'm going to make it, I'm going to try 40 or 50 rather. All right, and then I'm going to duplicate that layer, Control-Shift-D, move this down, and then I'm going to type in every server is equipped with a 250 gigabyte SSD. Best of all, it's free for 3 months. Okay, so now we have to adjust the size of this. I'm going to try 20 here for the points. That's a little bit too low. And I'm just eyeballing it for now. I think something right around here would be pretty good, which is 28. And I'm going to move this down a little bit. And then we're going to create finally a real quick call to action button using the rounded rectangle tool. And I'm going to use 12 for the radius. And we're going to get a grid back up. And then I'm going to left click, drag out to right around, yeah, I think just this width of 4 columns. And I'm going to hide the grid. We're going to make the color something that sticks out from the rest. So if we just pick the top, you generally for a call to action button, you really want something that's going to stick out and really get people's attention. So I think a color of around 00C494 will work. All right, and then inside of it, finally, we will hit Control-H and then just type in, give me that free stuff. And then we'll take the color here of that, make it white, and I'm gonna hit Control-1 to get to 100%. And that size and position looks pretty good. All right, so in the next lesson, we're going to go ahead and continue on with designing a sort of a testimonial area here along with some more content down here. All right, I'll see you then.